broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I dig this song. I just have to hit it. I like the song.
Let it go for a hot minute.
Just for a half minute. Well, we don't have much time, but yeah, Beck, go it alone. Welcome, everybody. This is AFTERBUZZ Blacklist. My name is Nando Velasquez. I am not Joe Braswell. Joe Braswell, what's his excuse this week?
Joe Braswell's a bad person. That's all I can come
That's
up
all.
with.
Okay.
Joe Braswell is currently in Harlem. He's enjoying dinner, and we miss him, but we do not like him.
Fair enough. And we're also missing Julia Carolee.
Julia is in Las Vegas with her husband celebrating her anniversary.
Aw, that's nice of her.
Who do they think they are?
Yeah, who do you think they are?
Whatever.
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Oh, no, less. On a Tuesday.
Unacceptable.
So, unfortunately, we're down 2, like the plague, but we still got 2 left. So, joining me across, if you haven't heard him already, a little scratchy, but Mr. Joe Sanfelippo.
It's nice to be here with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just the 2 of us men right over here. It's me versus the year Flippo up opposite me.
We can hold this thing down. I believe in us.
We can hold it down. So we're gonna bang this one out here. Hopefully we can entertain you, just the 2 of us. I think we can. We got the better half here. So we're talking about episode 5, which we just saw, which is the front. Number 74 on the list. We seem to be hitting, like, all of these numbers are around the same range. They're all like in the 70s, 80s, I've noticed.
Yeah, I would say that on the baseball bat, we're about here. Not up to the meat of the bat yet. We're right. Just
if you're watching the visual,
yeah. Just where it's going to hurt your hands,
it's
but not hit your hands.
It's kind of where you put the resin, like still with a chalk when you're.
Have you played baseball? Have you?
Not in a while. Oh, the Dodgers. Anyway, so I really liked what I liked about the case here. It was like 1 part Da Vinci Code, 1 part Contagion.
Yes.
So I really dug it. I mean, it was very quick on both of them, but I did like this.
And that's what I kind of took away from it. I mean, it's a bold idea, and I think I felt like, and this is the weirdest thing I've ever said about the Blacklist, but I felt that this should have been 2 episodes. I kind of felt like they had enough going on.
Fair enough.
That given that we have 74 episodes in a season, this should have been a twofer. Because, I mean, wrapping up Plague in the last minute is tough. Well, we landed all 25 planes and everybody's cool. That's a tough sell for me.
Yeah.
Doing the Plague is over wrap up. That's not always easy.
Well, it was like there was that one point in the commercial break when all of a sudden the outbreak happened.
Yeah,
we had that woman taking in the.
And then we skip ahead.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's like mass hysteria, cats and dogs living together,
right.
All of that,
It's tough, and especially when you can draw the corollary right now to how clumsy our reaction to Ebola has been, and
I was thinking the same thing. Like, what crazy timing for an episode like this?
Really, and they shot this a long time ago.
Yeah.
This isn't like they shot it right over the weekend, So
I actually was wondering if they, I'm guessing I haven't seen any news stories really about this, but this feels like the kind of episode that if I worked for NBC, I might consider pulling.
Well, I think that they probably, I think that it could have gone either way, I would imagine, but if things had gone differently in Dallas, they might have maybe. When you think about it, if 15 or 20 people had come up with infections, they probably would have, but it didn't. I mean, there's wound up being only the one nurse that got infected. But it was interesting to me, was germane to the case, is that, we wrap up a plague that with 25 people with an airborne pneumonic plague, which is,
the deadliest plague ever from
Seriously?
the 14th century. They have this big treasure hunt to find this thing. Apparently, 14th century plagues were buried in Staten Island. I thought that was such a punchline there. I mean, the only thing worse is if it was in New Jersey, I guess. But Staten Island, probably right next to the Fresh Kills landfill.
You keep expecting Nicolas Cage to come up and talk about the Declaration of Independence at some point or another. But it is a little
Staten Island,
and it's in the
deadliest plague in the planet.
And it's what do you call it, the Native American burial ground there? It's really it's quite the stretch.
Native American. Yeah. So many jokes there. I'm just going to skip over. Yeah. So many jokes. But anyway, so yeah, let's talk a little bit. We're going to, with the two of us, we're going to jump around a little bit. But again, love the case. I love the whole Da Vinci Code aspect of it. We see this woman at the very top. She's been battered, abused. You see blood coming. Carrie Ann Beck. Yes, because Maddox is her husband.
Maddox is the hubby.
And we see her making a call to who we find out now is Pepper. And Pepper agrees to meet with her, and it's a double cross. So we see the man there that's been abusing her, which we find out, of course, is Maddox. And apparently she's selfish. She can't stop us now. Everything's in place, is what Maddox is saying. And he's trying to grab her bag. She ends up pulling away, and next thing you know, she gets run over by a cab. And this is over, I guess, in D.C. It's in DuPont Circle in D.C. So anyway, and it starts this whole crusade, so to speak, with this mysterious painting. Which they discovered because when they went to discover her, which she was incidentally, I don't know, very interesting. I don't know why they made this character choice, but she was pregnant, 30 weeks pregnant.
Well, I think the pregnancy is
just to trigger Lizzie's.
I'll tell you why I think it's going to happen. Lizzie's going to try and go. I think Lizzie's going for that kid. That's what I think is going to happen.
You think so? I had a feeling we would go to say that as a prediction of some sort. I don't think she would, but I think it definitely triggers her baby mama wanting. Feelings.
The uterine ache that she might be experiencing right now.
The stuff she wanted from season 1.
Yeah. She wants a kiddo.
And her reminiscing about Tom.
Yeah, they got a little romantic. Yeah, got a little romanticized.
A little bit there. Yeah, especially toward the end.
When she was having her time with Samira.
Very interesting. But anyway, so they discover the body, who's brain dead, Carrie Ann, and they discovered she has clay under her fingernails, but it's very rare clay, and it's 700 years old. So very big mystery.
And it's from Siena, Italy.
Siena, Italy.
Now, what I would like to know is how you find out exactly where the clay comes from that quickly.
It's 2014. I guess they figured it was an art exhibit of some sort, so that's where they got the painting from. Very, very interesting seeing that. Like I said, kind of Da Vinci Code-ish, kind of like the Crusades. All these priests apparently having a piece of the puzzle.
Right.
What movie was that? Was that Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
They had a little bit of that. The priest wind up with the Holy Grail. And
there was a couple of movies I think that done that. Where you have pieces of the puzzle hidden amongst.
Like I said, this should have been 2 episodes. They could have had a flashback to you could have had a period piece. You could have had the priest wandering in the desert.
Yeah.
And, you could have had the one die by the side. It could have been some fun stuff.
I definitely agree with that. So we see them go to Staten Island, and of course nothing ever good comes out of Staten Island.
I've said it for years. There's nothing worth the good goddamn if it came out of Staten Island.
There goes our 5 listeners from Staten Island.
Screw you guys.
So apparently the burial site, the bones get moved to the Holy Trinity Church in New York City. Carrie has a moment. It's a beautiful
church.
It's a beautiful church. Carrie has a moment with Maddox there. She doesn't pull the trigger, causing this outbreak to...
Lizzie has the moment.
Did I say Carrie?
You did.
I meant Lizzie.
And I feel that we have several Lizzie WTF moments this episode that I'd like to take a moment to discuss.
Let's take a moment and discuss them.
I'd like to discuss the Lizzie WTF moment with not shooting homeboy with the bones.
Okay. Well, he was going to drop them, and if he dropped them, it would release the plague.
Do you know how contagious these are? Do you know? If you shoot me, we both die.
Yeah.
As opposed to everyone else on the planet. Anyway, whatever. And then we have the second Lizzie WTF, which is the polar opposite of the first WTF. Samara's got she's gotten infected. She knows she's sick.
Navabi, yeah.
Navabi, yes. And Samara and she's whatever you do, don't come in here. And Lizzie goes, I have to. You gave me a funny look earlier, and I have to let you know that I'm brave. You called me out on my first stupid WTF, so I have to do the polar opposite WTF.
Yeah, because Navabi was the one that was like, "You're an idiot. We're having an outbreak because of you."
Because you're the monkey who killed all these people.
Yeah, and then here she goes trying to save Navabi.
Right, to prove to you that I'm not an idiot, I'm gonna go in here and breathe in some plague.
And of course, they have this really nice little girl moment. This nice little scene between the two of them bonding. This female bonding moment.
This one borrowed from so many different movie tropes. Like this was, that scene. Yeah. I thought for the longest time, I'm like, please, not longest, but for that entire time Lizzie was outside that door, I thought we were going to have a Star Trek Spock and Kirk. Like, you know, like, I always have been your friend. Like, I was like, please don't.
Well, I think it's interesting because obviously we know from a previous episode that Navabi is on Red's payroll, or there's something going on between Navabi and Red.
Yeah.
You know, we even saw that a little bit this episode when Red was going up for Aram. But Lizzie at the same time is obviously trying to keep secrets from Red, trying to get her guardian angel, I believe it was said, off of her back. This the hot sniper that Julia loves so much when she's not thinking about her anniversary.
Just because you're married doesn't mean you're dead. You can't appreciate when the good people at NBC throw you something to look at.
Careful, buddy. Your wife might be listening.
She would never listen to my show. Are you kidding? Yeah, but she can barely stand to talk to me when we're face to face, much less go back and listen to me talk for an hour.
Okay, well, in that case. So, yeah, we definitely see Lizzie trying to get her tail off. She goes to Red at the beginning of the episode. We noticed that, trying to convince Red to get rid of him. He won't do it. And we see her playing around a little bit with the tail as far as, you know, she's going to an appointment to her doctor. And we see this woman who looks a bit like Lizzie, who she's paying off to cover for her as she goes to do her little secrets.
Right. So we don't know what she went and did, though, right?
Well, we don't know what she went and did, but around the time when we see the double actually going to Lizzie's place, taking off her clothes, that little seductive scene that we heard, the song that we played at the top, Beck, Going Alone. Around that time,
was sexy.
That was a very sexy scene too. It was very, very sexy. And, you know, I was going to say, I was like writing in my notes here because I wasn't paying attention to, I didn't realize it was a double right away. I was like, whoa, Lizzie's showing a lot more skin this season. And then it turns out it wasn't Lizzie.
And not for anything, Lizzie's paying that chick some big money.
Yeah.
She's not giving her like $100. She's dropping like some serious coin.
Well, this is serious business for her.
So where's she getting the money? I don't know.
Well, I think she gets paid pretty well.
FBI, let's assume
and her dad possibly left her some bank. And you figure that Red probably, technically, Red probably gave her dad, her father, money to take care of her, so she's probably settled pretty well after all.
So you think that Lizzie has the kind of scratch where she can grab what? I mean, it looked like 10 grand. It looked like it was like that, you know, like here's the TV and movie 10 grand.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the sheaf of money that we've all come to recognize as $10,000 in TV.
We assume that
visuals.
Red's been taking care of Lizzie behind the scenes before the Blacklist even started when she was a kid. So I would imagine she's pretty well off.
So you think Lizzie's got the money to go given?
I think she does. I think she could retire if she wanted to, but she refuses to, much to your dismay.
It's the contribution she's making for us all.
But we do see during that scene, we do see her sitting in that seat that she was sitting at the end of last week's episode. Remember when she was holding that key, staring at that mysterious door? So we get to see her in this, it looks like a boiler room.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and then we see this mysterious, like, thug.
Like Tiny, you got the big dude.
Yeah, he's got a bouncer, he's got that weird thing on his ear. I don't even want to call it an earring. I don't know what the hell that thing is. Like, it's tribal or something.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Telling her it's too late, it's really late at night, but she insists on going in, so we see her go in. And we can only assume that this is the source, but it's very weird because we saw her with the key before, and here comes this guy out of the door. So the door is not, the key doesn't open that door. I guess that door opens on its own, but she has a key for something, and it's inside wherever she went.
That's what we're assuming, but we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what Pepper's key was for.
No, that's not Pepper's key, though. I'm still talking about Lizzie.
Oh, he's talking about Lizzie.
Because Lizzie had the key at the end of last week's episode for that door. For the what we thought
maybe
was
that's
that
a
door.
key to get inside that place, and then Tiny's in charge of the door.
And there's another. Yeah, exactly.
How many private prisons y'all have in New York or DC, wherever this is?
That's DC, I believe.
Is that DC?
Yeah, I believe that's DC.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
But probably at least one.
Behind every third bar, there's
at least one door.
There's a big Samoan cat who's in charge of whether or not you go to prison.
So we really don't know what's going on. All we know is that she's paying off somebody to cover for her while Red's tail, is watching over her. And this guy's getting some fun looks at her double.
Yep.
Writing on the window, "Bite me," which I felt was a double. I felt was a double entendre. I was like, is she inviting him in, or is she just saying, "Get out of here"?
I thought that was pretty brilliant. I liked the way they did that. I enjoyed everything about that. Until it wasn't Lizzie, but that was great. I liked that was smart because it kept him involved, kept him engaged, but at the same time didn't blow it. I don't want to hang out with you. Just make fun of you and tease you.
Absolutely. So before we go on, let me bring up. Let's talk about iTunes for a bit.
Let's talk about iTunes.
Let's talk about iTunes because we're on iTunes.
Is that where we are?
Yeah, chances are if you're only listening to us and you're not looking at us on YouTube or on AfterBuzz TV, you're probably listening to us on iTunes. So if you are, thank you very much. We would love it if you gave us some ratings. We'd love it if you remarked. Is that the right way of saying remarked? Wrote some comments. If you commented on us. Yeah, just comment. Remarked sounds weird.
And if you have any remarks that you'd like to leave in your comment section,
in your
we'd
comment
be happy to have your remarks.
Absolutely. You know, I was looking, and we definitely haven't had many new comments on iTunes, and it really does help us out. You know, when you give us high ratings, you put us high up on the list, and it's stuff we could show to publicists. It's stuff we could show to cast members. We'd love to get some people. We haven't really had anybody here for the Blacklist, you know, at all. So we'd love to get some people on here. So please give us some comments
on YouTube. But we'd love to have some on iTunes.
Yeah, we'd love to have both if possible. We definitely read your comments. Due to time, I'm not going to be able to read any people this week. But yeah, we do read all your stuff, and we love it when you tweet at us. We'll give you our Twitter handles later. So yeah, please keep doing that. And yeah, please support. It supports us. It supports this show. It supports AfterBuzz as a whole. The I guess 80+ shows that we do weekly. Absolutely. So anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about this outbreak. So we see this cult. Actually, you know what? This felt like the following to me a little bit too, didn't it? With this cult.
Yes.
It kind of had a little bit of a following feeling to me, with these people blindly, you know, taking this plague in.
I have such we've said this, but you and I have discussed this before on a different show. I have such a huge reaction when people choose to die. I just find it so disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, if you're terminally ill, that's a very different thing. It's none of my damn business. But if you're young and somebody's telling you that you should be choosing to die, this cult crap, this, you know, like Jonestown, the concept of it, I find it so abhorrent and so absolutely incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So every time I see it, and they always like to have that shot of a young woman. Anytime they shoot anything with a cult in it, any network, anywhere, they always like to have that one shot of a young woman choosing to be sacrificed in some way. It's like, oh God, that's so horrible.
It is horrible. That first woman, Sharon, and even Pepper. She was a cutie, and here she is like betraying Carrie Ann at the top, and she seems to be his second in command, and kind of as Red was calling toward the end, like his Eve. And they could romp around like bunnies while the end of the world is happening because they had the cure. But anyway, so yeah, we see Sharon get infected and going straight into DC, into central DC, infecting about 2,300 people. This is like right after a commercial break, so it went from like nothing to something major. And then when they discover a rat hair on her body, on Sharon's body after she's deceased, they trace it to this lab, the only place that wasn't like a medical lab that I guess had deliveries for this specific kind of animal.
I guess if you're raising laboratory rats and somebody orders some, you just bring them.
It's amazing. That's how it works. Yeah.
I didn't know.
I don't know. You can do anything. There's an app for that probably.
There's probably
an app for that.
Labrat.com.
Yeah, labrat.com. So anyway,
again, this should have been 2 episodes, I think, because it's all been.
Wait, how many episodes?
So much.
Seriously, how many episodes do you think it should have been?
I think 2.
What are you trying to tell me?
I think this would have been much more chewable, digestible.
Okay.
In 2 episodes.
I think this podcast should be 2 episodes talking about you saying 2
hours
episodes
of me discussing how long I think the show ought to be.
Yes. Love you. Anyway, so through this, Red discovers. Well, you know, let's get to the whole meat of this. So first of all, when the FBI end up going to the lab, they find out the plot really is that there are 28 cities, I believe they were going to be infected.
24, right?
24. It was in the 20s. 24 or 28. It was divisible by 4, and it was in the 20s.
Whatever it was, it's a lot.
It was a lot. And we saw the scene where they were all circled up, all the cult members, and everybody, including Maddox and Pepper, were breathing in this this disease.
Or so we thought.
Or so we thought at the time. So, but yet, you know, everybody is going off on a plane, travel the world, see exotic places, die there, except for Maddox and Pepper. And luckily, the Canadian guy, the guy going to Toronto, there's probably a joke there too, is on a later flight. So this is where we see them have this interaction over at the airport, where we see Navabi get into it with this guy. We see him spray her with, I guess, a portable version of this, with the plague. And we see her try to take this selfless act and lock herself up, even though she got shot right before Lizzie was able to kill this guy,
right.
Perez. And then we see Lizzie make this WTF moment, like you said, sneaking in there. We see them both about to die. So obviously it's all up to Red.
Got to be up to Red.
It's got to be up to Red. And Red's been talking to Aram because Red, we got to talk about that too, but we'll get to that in a second. Red's been talking to Aram, and between the two of them, they figure out exactly where this Maddox guy is. And a beautiful, beautiful, one of the several beautiful scenes with Red, just dissecting Maddox and Pepper. He has Pepper all handcuffed up. And I love, kind of what you said about people willing to die for a cause. I loved Red's monologue about this guy either has to be a saint or a megalomaniac.
Absolutely.
And you're no saint. You're no saint at all. And it just showed his true motives too. And I guess it makes sense when you see this guy didn't want to drop the plague in the church with Lizzie. Because if he really truly wanted to die for a cause, he probably would have just destroyed the plague and at least try, cause that plague. I mean, he had bigger plans, but still.
Right.
It still would have been a win for him. As long as he released the plague, I would assume.
Well, it's some scary, scary stuff to consider.
Yeah.
I always hate it when they do TV shows like this because it seems to me like you're giving a real template to the crazies out there. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you ever thought about it? Well, here's how we would do it over at NBC. We would send 24 different people to 24 different airports, and we'd send them all over the place. By the time they landed, if it was airborne, we'd have everyone on the planes infected. We wouldn't tell anybody for 16 hours, and by that point, it's pretty much out of control. That's how we do it. Just saying. They always make me nervous. I'm like, please, nobody that's crazy, watch that.
But I do love the fact that Red shows up. You see Dembe coming with a whole bunch of jars of what looks like the antidote.
Right.
It's only two people that want the antidote, and that's Pepper and Maddox. Yet they made enough for a lot of people.
I would imagine it's kind of like Kool-Aid. When you're making antidote, it's you make a little extra just in case somebody comes over.
I guess in case somebody comes over.
It's like Kool-Aid that way.
I guess that's true. In case he finds another woman he wants to bed.
You know what?
He gets a little harem.
I wonder. Yeah, might not. Give some more
in case he
shots
gets tired and gets tired of Pepper and he sees another redhead he likes or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the mysterious thing. So, we talked about Lizzie, and this is where you got a little confused at me, about Lizzie holding this key last week for this, what we thought was the boiler room door, but now it's something else. So Red, apparently, he wanted to get after Pepper. He didn't really care about Maddox as much, but what he wanted was something that Pepper had. And what she had was this old-fashioned key.
He needs this old-timey key for something.
Old-timey key. Very different than because Lizzie's key was more like a modern key. But yeah, and she Pepper hid it in the glass bottles on a tree. The little I guess they're a little wind chime thing, and so very mysterious. So what do you think? Let's talk about this actually for a second before we move on. What do you think this key is for?
I don't think it's a key. I think it's got I'm hoping it's not a key because it seems like if it's an old-timey key, then Red could have probably broke into whatever it was. I mean, old-timey key. The reason we don't use old-timey keys anymore is because they're easy to pick the locks from. That's
right?
That's why we use the tumblers with the 5 and 6 different.
So you don't think it's the key that he wants?
I think in the key maybe there's a microchip or a silicone chip, or there's like a little flash drive or something in the key that's going to code to something else. Because it's an old-timey key.
Yeah.
If it's an old-timey key, we can pick an old-timey lock.
Well, it's possible.
That's old-timey easy.
Unless there's like a room with a bunch of keyholes. He doesn't know which one it is, but he knows this key will open up that one. He doesn't want to open up every single keyhole.
You're right.
Because then this one will just open up the magical one that he needs.
There could be a wall of 417 keyholes.
Yes.
And he will, yes.
Instead of opening up 417 boxes and getting different information on each one, he just tries this one key 417 times.
I bet Mr. Kaplan could open up 417 old-timey key boxes in like 25 minutes.
Yeah, but still, that's too much.
And you wouldn't even know she was there.
But that's too much information. Just open up the right one.
So you're.
I'm just saying.
This is my contention. I think it's electric. Something in there is got information on it. Something in the old-timey key.
Okay, the old-timey key.
I love
the
saying
old-timey key.
Old-timey key.
We need some like silent music, movie music or something in the background. Extra. It's an old-timey key. So anyway, so Red has this key. Well, let's also talk about. Red saves the day, and of course, we'll get to that. But Red is also hunting for his daughter, as we know from previous episodes,
Jennifer, a.k.a. Zoe D'Antonio.
And I love, that's what it turns out to be, the alias, I suppose. Yes. Because Red, in what I think is a series of hilarious scenes.
With our boy Glenn.
Yes, is at the DMV, patiently waiting for his number.
And that was awesome. My first thought was like, I'm like, dude, does Red really have to wait at the DMV? Just
We've never seen him drive before.
Right?
We've never seen him drive.
Join AAA. Worst case scenario. You know? But that was awesome. I enjoyed that very much.
I love that. You know what? The character's name is Glenn, but I didn't get a chance to look him up. I don't know if he's on IMDb. But hilarious. I love this guy. I love the fact that Red is using a DMV guy to track as his best tracker.
Right.
I love the attitude this guy has. I love Red's conversations with him. Like,
it's not my fault you came up short.
Yeah, well, that too. And the vending machine still doesn't work. All this other stuff. The woman doing the test needs to shower.
Yeah,
all this stuff.
He's got the whole thing.
He's fighting the DMV. I think it's something we all kind of secretly wish we could have the guts to do. To actually argue with the DMV.
I think some writers on the Blacklist are using Red as a proxy. And last week they went after something very near and dear to me. They went after solving. And do you know where I was over the weekend?
No.
I was in solving.
Really?
I love me some solving.
Ah.
And so this week they're going after the DMV. So I will say this from my scorecard: solving, you're wrong. It's lovely. DMV, you're right. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're 50-50 right now.
So this guy really was kind of like a classic DMV guy,
yeah.
The attitude, even with Red. Even
you enjoy
with
making people wait.
An international criminal waiting his turn. So,
right.
So eventually, Red got frustrated with him, went to Aram, but luckily, Mr. DMV guy was able to get a match for Red's daughter. We found out her name, or at least her alias right now, is Zoe D'Antonio.
Yes.
D'Antonio. And Red thanks Glenn and also gets a new vending machine for the DMV. Really nice of Red. Because you know what? You're pissed off enough at the DMV. It's so frustrating being there. At least you could do is get a soda when you want it.
The nice thing, when you got the money,
yeah.
You're like, you know what? Why make the money if you can't enjoy spending it?
Yeah, come on. Right? It's enough aggravation going there. At least kind of try and make just a little comfort, comfort.
And I just want to say this because it's the truth. If you went to go set up a vending machine in a public in a government office, you would have to swim through so much paperwork. It could never be worthfound.
Yeah.
So I love that they just went and did it. It's like, I'm just going to set it up. To hell with you guys.
No, gotta love that. So Red, we see toward the end, Red has found what looks like Zoe D'Antonio. And she's working a food truck because that's all the rage right now.
It's a very hipster thing.
That's all the kids are doing that. It's a very hipstery thing, and I'm sure the Yelp reviews are great. And so we see him staking her out. And again, so Red now knows where Jennifer is, and he has this key. So are the two connected? Do you think the two are connected?
I don't know. I mean. It's
just the timing. It's just the timing of it all. It's not like he's not focused on one. He's doing both.
I'm getting to that place where with this, and it's probably been that way a little while, where I think that we're being kind of like dangled along, and I want the key has been a thing for a few episodes, and I think they've gotten their money's worth out of the key, but it's definitely time to be done with the key, at least on Lizzie's end.
Yeah.
Then we have a new key. And so we'll see what Lizzie was hiding behind the door. I think
we'll see that next week.
They were really clear about that.
Yeah, it sounds like we'll see that next week, and that's probably that key.
But the secrets. Like there are times where I get frustrated because clearly we're being led along, and that's fine. That's part of watching TV. That's part of what we're doing. Of course. And it's part of the fun.
Okay.
But with Red and Lizzie and maybe the sister, maybe not the sister, whatever's happening. I want that to be revealed. Damn it! I want to find that out. That is starting to bug me.
And what's really awesome too, when Lizzie finds out, because Aram accidentally blabs to Lizzie about about what Red's having him do. Those are fun.
I shouldn't have said. I'm sorry. I don't even have it.
Well, first of all, I love the fact that they're using Aram so much this season.
Yes.
He's obviously great. But Lizzie confronting Red, and it's so obvious Red's calling her out on being jealous. And we even heard that when she's talking to Navabi, when she's sharing this information with Navabi, which she probably shouldn't be because she should realize Navabi's probably going to tell everything to Red.
Right.
But when she does that, she says, Red was right. I am jealous, obviously. She said something to Lon to that extent. So it is really cute to see this conversation between Red and Lizzie about Red's daughter. When you and I clearly are in the same brain pattern.
The brain trust in this room.
And we both believe that Lizzie is Red's daughter as well.
Can we talk briefly about that little 16?
Now that we can bond here without the other two getting in the way.
Without him over there yelling, because he normally makes some sort of sound at this point.
Totally. Yeah.
And then he makes fun of one of us. And then this one
or her
starts
wanting
hitting
to punch me. Yeah, exactly.
No, we don't need that.
We don't need that.
We know the truth.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I want to discuss. I want to talk about that 16 millimeter at the end where he's watching the kid, right? It was kind of, we're not sure which is going on because at one point the kid is coming out from one side of mom's skirts, and then next shot she's coming out the other side. But could it be a different kid? We're not sure. Could it be two girls in that clip, or is it one girl in that clip?
Well, you gotta admit, Jennifer does look very similar to Lizzie.
Look.
They look similar to Lizzie, and to Lizzie's double even looks very similar to both of them.
Absolutely,
she could have been Lizzie's double as well. So very similar look.
A lot going on there. A lot going on.
I think there is a lot going on.
I think we got sisters. That's all. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
I kind of agree with you. I think we just about covered just about everything, but I do want to talk about that one tender moment at the end when, well, first of all, Red is playing music for Lizzie to wake her up from her coma, and then we see on the other side we see Samar.
So we got our
Aram is there with her.
We got our tender corollaries.
Yeah. And we see that moment between Aram and Navabi.
And you know what, with Aram and Navabi, and you know that's we have no one, but we'll be there for each other.
Yeah.
And he's got himself a little something of a crush.
He's got a crush, but Navabi kind of gave him a little.
You got a little handy.
Yeah.
You got a little handheld.
A little bit there.
And and it's funny to me because Aram plays it so.
I know.
She touched me.
I know. I know. That's what cracks me up. Again, I love the fact that they're using Aram so much, and the actor playing him is just a very charming moment, and we see him getting all excited, and we see that Red is confiding in Aram as well. So perhaps is Navabi kind of using Aram right now, or maybe because of Red has need for Aram apparently from time to time. Is she playing? We saw last week when Lizzie went for that psych eval, and they made that little bet. Remember when Navabi made that bet with Aram that whether or not Lizzie was telling the truth during the psych eval? And Navabi covered up for, didn't want Aram to know this stuff. So, we noticed that she's already playing mind games a little bit with Aram.
Well, I think if you're, I don't know, I've never been a Mossad agent, but I would imagine if you're a Mossad agent, you're in the very elite in a very small country that is constantly under threat. I would imagine you get used to probably thinking on your feet and using people all the time, and it kind of becomes second nature. So if you can have a moment of genuine tenderness, that doesn't negate the idea of you using that person in the future, or, like we're having a moment here, but of course I'm going to use you. I'm Mossad. That's what we do.
She's Mossad. She probably is manipulating him a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that
Poor
the tender
Aram.
moment. Well, that doesn't mean the tender moment isn't real, though.
At that moment, I mean, I guess he saved her life technically, or he had something to do with saving her life. Red really saved her life.
I think it's more Red.
It's more Red. But he was there for her.
Absolutely.
When she woke up.
And, there's a lot to be said for being in the hospital with someone. I mean, that's...
Yes. Absolutely.
That's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're pretty much done with this. We're going to move on because we got very limited time today. Apologies, guys. We're going to move on to some predictions. How about that?
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Okay, so based on what we saw for next week's episode, so any of you people who don't like to watch scenes from next week, you might want to tune out a little bit here.
What's wrong with you, by the way?
There are a few people like that. No, we discovered that. I discovered that in another AfterBuzz show or two. So we just want to put that little there. We noticed that next week up there, NBC is like, everything's about to change. And it's based pretty much on this door that Lizzie's going through, that boiler room type door. So I mean, look, you and I think we're on the same page here. You think it's Tom?
Well, I think.
I mean, now that we don't have Julia here to say I was right first.
The first person to say that was Julia,
but only because we make her do predictions first.
I know, but she said it first, so we have to acknowledge that.
All right, okay.
And I think it's a solid prediction.
Yeah.
So yes, I think Tom is behind the door. That is mine. I agree with Julia on that.
And Tom is probably the source.
And Tom is probably the source.
Okay. I'm not sure if Tom's the source, but I feel like that's what we're being led to believe, at least. So we'll see about that.
My prediction, aside from the door, is that Lizzie is going to make a go for the kid somehow or another. They're going to try and adopt that kid. And of
I
course,
think that's just freaky weird.
Well, they won't give her the kid. She's in no position to do it. But I think she's going to have some sort of I want to see this kid often
I think
kind of a thing.
I think she's got too much on her plate right now to go for a kid. But definitely,
if I were an adoption parent, I'd never be like, hey, she's the one.
But if anything, I will say this: that seeing the kid and just reminiscing about her and Tom wanting the kid has made her feel more nostalgic for Tom. So perhaps a romance. She has him as a prisoner, and perhaps there's a little romance still kindling over there.
Little Stockholm syndrome going on.
Well, you know what? The thing with what's his name? We haven't even talked about him. This wrestler, like. I'm just like, yeah. I mean, I thought there might be a love interest there, but really at this point, it's like, forget that.
And, you know, what's funny is everybody lit me up on the interwebs that I said that I thought there was no chemistry. I don't see any damn chemistry.
No, people agreed with you too. People agreed with you on.
But I got a lot of people that were like that. Since I'm like, do you guys know what chemistry looks like?
Yeah.
I'm not to be argumentative, but
no.
I don't think there's any.
But anyway, so and that's pretty much it. And just some more exciting scenes with Red, but we're definitely going to see Tom probably come into play, and we're going to see definitely it's going to come between Lizzie and Red again. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens with the daughter too. I'm excited to see that.
A lot going on.
Yeah. So anyway, so that pretty much wraps up our episode for this week. Sorry for the short one, but you know we're two-handed here and. Somewhat and whatever. You can reach Julia and Joe on Twitter, Joe K. Braswell and Julia Caroly, I believe. Mr. Sanfelippo, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and on the interwebs at Joe Flippo on Twitter, and my website is josephsanfelippo.com. And I just want to shout out real quick, if you have children that are young, we have produced a wonderful children's dance show called Miss Erin's Magical Dance Class. If you go to misseronsmagicaldanceclass.com, check it out. It is something I'm very proud of.
Oh, cool. Lizzie, when Lizzie gets her kid, she might
take a look at Miss Erin's Magical Dance Class. Yeah, she might
totally do that. Okay, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nandovel, Nandovel. You can find me here on other AfterBuzz shows like The Walking Dead, Homeland, and Scorpion. And there's tons of other shows here. Again, rate us, comment on us, all the AfterBuzz shows. We totally appreciate it. And until next week, when hopefully we'll have Joe and Julia and myself all together, thanks for tuning in and catch you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.